Hi guys, hope you're doing well. Me, Matt, and Connor went to go and see Spider-Man: Brand New Day yesterday, and yeah, here's the review for it. I mean, it was great. You literally walked in and they gave you these like little Spider-Man pins, and there was a guy dressed as Spider-Man who was high-fiving people as you were going in. It's great. I love that when the cinema makes an extra effort rather than just you're paying to see a film. It's like, no, we're going to make it an experience. We're going to give you these little gifts. We're going to have a guy dressed as Spider-Man, and it's great. So, yeah. So, here is the review of Spider Man Brand New Day. Now, I've made a conscious decision, and I see a lot of other movie reviewers doing this as well. I'm going to be doing two reviews. This one is going to be a spoiler free review, and I will be posting a spoiler review later on because it's one of those things where I want to tell you as much as I can about this film without spoiling anything, but it's going to be a bit tricky. So I will keep this review as spoiler free as possible. And basically, anything that's been in the marketing or any of the trailers, I will be happy talking about in this review. For example, Punisher's in the trailers, so I'll talk about Punisher. Hulk and Bruce Banner are in the trailers, I'm going to talk about them. So yeah, that's basically the rule. If it's in the marketing or in the trailers, I will talk about it. Everything else will be saved for the spoiler review. So let's go. Right, so this is Tom Holland's fourth Spider-Man outing, and it's also the first one that's not directed by John Watts, which is interesting. So yeah, let's get into it. And the basic plot of this movie is Peter Parker slash Spider-Man is dealing with the aftermath of what he did at the end of No Way Home, which he got Doctor Strange to cast a spell to make everyone forget about him as Peter Parker. Everyone still knows who Spider-Man is, but Peter Parker does not exist anymore. So he's basically still going out doing the Spider-Man things, but he doesn't really have a life as Peter Parker. And because of that, not only has he isolated himself from his friends, but he's also started to mutate and his DNA starting to become a bit more feral and his powers are starting to evolve. And also dealing with a mysterious new villain who he does not have any clue how to deal with. So let's get into it. First things first, I'm going to say this is probably my favourite Tom Holland portrayal of Spider-Man. I'm not quite sure if it's my favourite Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. I need to rewatch this to kind of solidify that, but this is my favourite iteration of his as Spider-Man because he's, again, as I said, he's dealing with a lot of emotional stuff. He's lost his aunt, he doesn't have his friends, no one knows who he is, he doesn't have a life as Peter Parker. He's literally just Spider-Man all the time. And yeah, he gets all the praise. I mean, you see it like there's a montage where he's literally just dealing with villains and saving people, and he's like given all this praise. But when he goes back to his apartment and he's just Peter Parker, he's got nothing. He's got no one. And that, I think he really does a good job, particularly as the film goes on, about how he deals with that emotionally. They do a really good job at sort of alienating him and isolating him from everyone, where you feel like, oh man, this guy just doesn't really have a life. But yeah, I thought Tom Holland was absolutely on point. And also, something that I was not expecting in this movie, I love his relationship with Frank Castle, the Punisher. Because now I have not seen the Punisher TV series. I do want to see it. But I did kind of know that, okay, so he's a violent character. He's an R-rated character. He swears a lot. And I thought to myself, how are you going to incorporate that into a Spider-Man film? And surprise, surprise, they do it really well. I mean, the back and forth banter that him and the Punisher have is just so funny, so on point. And they incorporate him into the story really well. It's not like, oh, let's just have Punisher here for the sake of having Punisher. No, he is part of the story, and he's in it quite a lot more than I thought he would be. I thought he was just going to be like a cameo. But no, he is part of the main plot. So yeah, loved it. Zendaya as MJ, obviously, she's sort of doesn't remember who Peter Parker is, so obviously they're not in a relationship anymore. And I'd say this is the best acting from Zendaya in all four Spider-Man movies. I feel like as each one went along, she evolved a lot more. She got to show more emotion because in Spider-Man Homecoming, she's just that snarky, sort of like emo-y, sort of like, nihilistic character. And then as each movie goes on and her and Peter Parker get closer, she gets to open up a bit more and become more emotional. But now she's dealing with a situation where she doesn't know who he is. And every time that Spider-Man turns up, she doesn't know who he is. And every time that Peter comes up, he wants to tell her who he is, but he can't bring himself to do it. He's still got that letter that he's got at the end of No Way Home, where he's written out what he's going to say, and he just can't bring himself to do it. And that, again, that adds to the whole isolation storyline. So yeah, I thought she was great for what she did. Here's another thing. I think there's been a real problem with the MCU, particularly in the later half. I mean, this happened like sort of after Endgame, where it felt like the MCU was struggling to just tell one story in terms of like, we're going to have a movie, let's just tell a contained story. Everything had to link to other characters, to the larger MCU, to the larger multiverse. Everything has to link together. What I really appreciated about this, and Spider-Man does a really good job at this, his movie specifically, is that no, we're just going to tell one contained story. Yes, we'll bring in characters from, other sort of like, Marvel properties, like Punisher, like Bruce Banner, like someone else I will talk about in a spoiler review. But it doesn't feel like they're adding them for the sake of, we're just going to have them here because it's Marvel. No, they're part of the story, and they just tell this one little contained story, and it doesn't have to link to the larger grand scheme of things. And I really appreciate that. Sadie Sink. I'm going to have to keep this very, very vague because she is technically a spoiler. I was going to put her in the mixed category because I feel like by the time you get to the end of the film, I really enjoyed her character and she really got to deliver some proper emotional moments. I think when she started out, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm into this, but the fact that when you got to the end, I was like, no, I'm invested in this. I really am. So yeah, I'm going to put her in the positives. She was brilliant. She gives a phenomenal performance, and I think it might be the best thing I've seen her do anyway. So yeah, and as I say, they really nail the emotional moments. I mean, they bring back, you're kind of dealing with the aftermath of when Aunt May was killed. I mean, they even kind of show that in like a montage where while he's doing Spider-Man stuff, he still finds time to go to a shop, get a bunch of flowers and leave it next to May's headstone. And that's just great. It just shows how devoted he is as a nephew and how, he's still like, she's still part of his life. And, there's some real emotional moments dealing with her. And that's great. I would say, actually, this is probably the most emotional Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. And I love that. I like the fact that, and it never feels like it's forcibly trying to bring you to tears. It just feels natural. And I really appreciate that. Do I have anything I don't like about this movie? There is one thing. It's not often I say this, but I feel like this movie could have been just a little bit shorter. There is a point towards the end where I think it's like a 2-hour, 25-minute movie, and you do start to feel it towards the end. There's a couple of scenes where Spider-Man is just talking to people, sitting down talking to people, which is fine, exposition stuff. But I just sat there sometimes feeling like, it feels like this scene's going on a little bit too long. I think we need to kind of push the plot forward a little bit. But if I had any negatives, that would be it. The film is just a little bit too long. So yeah, that is my spoiler-free review. I really wish I could tell you more about the movie, but that will be for the spoiler review. So yeah, as for a rating, I would say definitely add this one to your collection, guys. If you have been a fan of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, I cannot see any reason why you wouldn't enjoy this one. This, again, I need to rewatch it again, but this might be my favourite Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. It's not my favourite Spider-Man movie. That is still reserved for Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire, which will always be my favourite, unless, of course, another Spider-Man movie completely knocks it out of the park. But we'll see. So yeah, definitely add this one to your collection. Thank you very much, guys. If you like this video, give us a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for a spoiler-filled review of Spider-Man Brand New Day. Catch you later, guys.